Well, we've entered the most solemn, sacred, penitential season of the Christian year. Ash Wednesday, the first day in the season of Lent. But despite all that, I want to take the opportunity, especially given what we've all been through for the last 2 years, to dare to reflect with you on what I'll call the promise of Ash Wednesday. The promise of Ash Wednesday. And to begin to grasp the promise of the day, the promise of Ash Wednesday, we really have to go back to the very beginning, to the very, very beginning in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament. It's there in the story of creation that we're told, the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Right there is the key for unlocking the promise that Ash Wednesday offers all God's children. Here is the vision of our origin and our destiny. Now, if you follow that account along in the book of Genesis, there are no proper personal names in the account at all. This is not the beginning of the story of the lives of two humans who bear the names Adam and Eve. It's not there. It's a man and a woman being created. This story is not so much their story as it is our story. It's the story of human purpose and human hope. It's the story of human destiny. In the Hebrew language in which Genesis is written, in which the account of creation was composed, the dust of the ground from which the man arises is expressed by the Hebrew word Adamah. Adamah. It's the word in Hebrew for ground or earth. Adamah. And the Hebrew word, which the Bible uses to describe the first human, the one created from the dust of the ground, the dust of the earth, that word is drawn from the same word that gave us earth or ground, Adamah. The word that this living being is given in the Hebrew language is Adam. Adamah. Adam. The being created from the dust of the earth takes the name of the source of that creation. Adamah gives rise to Adam. Humans arise from the earth, and they get their name describing what they are, we are, from the earth. We are earth creatures. And the earth is our origin, and it is our destiny. We arise from the earth, and we return to the earth. Sometimes, in moments that are all too rare, we become aware of the existential hold that the earth has on us. Ash Wednesday is one of those fleeting moments. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Another such moment was described in Eric Maria Remarque's magisterial novel, All Quiet on the Western Front. The novel immerses the reader in the horrific trench warfare of World War I, with soldiers making gallant and usually ill-fated charges out of the trenches, and frequently to a sudden death. To no man does the earth mean so much as to the soldier, when he presses himself down upon her long and powerfully, when he buries his face and his limbs deep in her from the fear of death by shellfire, then she is his only friend, his brother, his mother. He stifles his terror and his cries in her silence and her security. She shelters him and releases him for 10 seconds to live, to run, 10 seconds of life, receives him again and again and again, and often forever. Sometimes, whether through trauma such as war or fleeting temporary wisdom, we know enough to embrace the earth from which we came. But more often, we humans mirror the tragedy of those very first humans that we can read about in the book of Genesis. They found it impossible to remember and honor their origin and their destiny. Instead of remaining grounded in the destiny that was created for them, they reached up for the so-called forbidden fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, limitless knowledge, boundless power, unbounded by the destiny for which they had been created. They sought liberation from the earthly destiny that had been intended for them. In other words, they wanted to be like God. They lacked humility, and they embraced hubris. And things did not end all that well for them. But to begin now to uncover the promise of Ash Wednesday that I promised you I would reflect on, we need to take a closer look at our destiny in the dust of the earth. We have to learn to accept the call for us to be earth creatures, to ground ourselves in our destiny in the earth. The Kentucky farmer and renowned author, Wendell Berry, has described that the journey that has been set before all God's children, all God's earth creatures. Berry wrote one time, "The world cannot be discovered by a journey of miles, no matter how long, but only by a spiritual journey, a journey of 1 inch. Very arduous and humbling and joyous, by which we arrive at the ground at our own feet and learn to be at home." You see, our challenge, our intended destiny, is to be grounded. willing to take the arduous, humbling, and joyous journey to become grounded in the earth beneath our feet. And it is in the ground and being grounded that miraculously we find ourselves, our true eternal selves. To approach our destiny, our God-given destiny, not on our own terms, exhibiting hubris, refusing limits, but on God's terms, with humility. Now, let's take just a little bit of a moment here to take a closer look at the ground, at the root of all life, at our origin and our destiny, the soil, the dust of the earth, in which we're called to ground ourselves. You remember a few minutes ago I said that Wendell Berry is first a farmer and then a renowned author? Well, in his late 80s now, he's still farming. He once took a long, hard look at the ground beneath his feet, and here's what he saw. He found life. He found life there. Although any soil sample can be reduced to its inert quantities, a handful of the real thing has life in it. It's full of living creatures. And if we try to describe the behavior of that life, we will see that it is doing something that, if we're not careful, we'll call unearthly. It is making life out of death. Not so very long ago, we would probably have called it miraculous. You see, soil is, first and foremost, alive. It is not just dirt or dust. It is teeming with thousands upon thousands of tiny creatures. It is the resurrection written into the tiniest yet arguably most essential detail of our daily existence. Well, what Wendell Berry found when he took a long, close, humble look at the soil points us to the promise that's available to us even on Ash Wednesday. Here's the paradox of our faith, the paradox of our human destiny. By keeping ourselves grounded, by embracing our limits, our finitude, facing honestly and courageously into the realities of our earthly existence, we're led to visions, promises, and miracles. Our destiny in the dust of the earth puts us in touch with a miracle, and perhaps the most wonderful miracle of all. Remember that the soil that is our origin and our destiny, it's alive. It's filled with miracles. The miracle of life arising out of death. Wendell Berry saw it and knew in earlier ages all that new life emerging microscopically in the soil would have been considered an abject, unthinkable, unfathomable miracle. Abject, unthinkable, unfathomable miracles happen in the earth. St. Paul understood this miracle that is offered even to earth creatures, such as you and me. In the 15th chapter of his first letter to the Corinthians, that in church over the course of the past month we've been reading every week, he offered a vision of a miracle that he saw taking place in the dust of the earth. Someone will ask, how are the dead raised? With what kind of body do they come? Fool, what you sow does not come to life unless it dies. And as for what you sow, you do not sow the body that is to be, but a bare seed, perhaps of wheat or of some other grain. But God gives it a body as he has chosen, and to each kind of seed its own body. So it is with the resurrection of the dead. What is sown is perishable. What is raised is imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a physical body. It is raised a spiritual body. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. That's how our destiny is going to be expressed to us this evening on Ash Wednesday. But as you hear those words, establishing our common destiny, remember that the soil that we come from is alive. It is filled with miracles. The miracle of life arising out of death. Amidst all the hardships and sufferings that we face, in the midst of the deadly sinfulness in which we all dwell, there is life stirring even in the ground itself. So you see, accepting our destiny in all humility, it's a great blessing. We're grounded in this very promise, the promise of Ash Wednesday.